Thank you, Your Excellency, President Joe Biden, and Excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to start off by thanking President Biden for convening this Leaders' Summit on climate. We are all so delighted to have the United States back, working with all of us to tackle the global challenge of climate change. Climate change is the most pressing issue of our time. It is a global phenomenon from which developing economies are particularly vulnerable, especially on our African continent. Without effective adaptation, climate change has the potential to reverse the developmental gains in many of the countries on the continent and push millions of people further into poverty and unemployment. In doing so, we have to adhere to the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. Poor countries have historically contributed least to global emissions. Developing countries often suffer the most from the devastating effects of climate change, particularly in the form of drought, extreme storms, and rising sea levels, as well as floods. Consequently, developed economies, we hold the view, have a responsibility to support developing economies to enable them to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Significant progress can be made when we all honor our mutual commitments. We therefore need to emphasize the primacy of multilateralism in ensuring the full implementation of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. South Africa is fully committed to enhancing its ambition and accelerating its climate actions. Last year, we finalized our National Climate Change Adaptation Strategy, which coordinates all actions at government level and at national level. We have also adopted a low emissions development strategy in pursuit of a just transition to a low carbon, sustainable and climate resilient developmental pathway. We are currently in the process of updating South Africa's nationally determined contribution. Our new NCD target ranges have been released for public consultation. The new target ranges we are proposing are much more ambitious in two respects. Firstly, the top of the 2030 range has been reduced by 28%, or 174 million metric tons, which is a very significant reduction. Second, according to our previous nationally determined contribution, South Africa's emissions would peak and plateau in 2025 and decline only from 2035. South Africa's emissions will begin to decline from 2025, effectively shifting our emissions decline 10 years earlier. With regard to our energy source, we plan to build capacity to generate over 17 gigabytes of renewable energy by 2030. We remain committed to contributing our fair share to reduce global emissions and to do so in the context of overcoming poverty, inequality, and underdevelopment. The move towards a low-carbon, climate-resilient society cannot happen overnight. We need to work together to create a climate-resilient society, and amongst other things, we should firstly ensure that as we transit to a more climate-resilient future, it must be based on a just transition that ensures that those who are most vulnerable in society do not get left behind. Secondly, it is critical that all three of the goals of the Paris Agreement, this mitigation, adaptation, and finance, should be advanced with equal determination and ambition. Thirdly, we must scale up support in the form of financing, technology, and capacity building. It will not be possible for developing economy countries, including those in Africa, to enhance ambition on either adaptation or mitigation. Fourthly, it is important that aid on climate change should be provided separately and should not be part of conventional development assistance. When it is given in the form of loan financing, the debt burden of developing countries is worsened. We call on developed economies, which historically bear the greatest responsibility for emissions, to meet their responsibilities to developing economies. This will be vital to restoring the bonds of trust between developed and developing economies. As we have done since the time of our revered leader Nelson Mandela, South Africa stands ready to work with other nations to build bridges to find solutions that secure humanity's future. I thank you.